Welcome back. How you doing? I hope you've had a good week or so. Weather's changing out there. I love this time of year. I hope you do too. You know, get out there in the air right now because, you know, it's going to start getting cold and that's no good. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mr. Paul. I'm an artist and an art teacher, and I'm working together with the Arts Council of Oklahoma City to bring you these videos of doing some art projects and talking about, you know, really kind of important things too. So I'm glad you're here. I hope you've been safe too. I don't know if you see this, but I wear this everywhere I go outside. So try to be safe out there. Okay, let's start up. Today we are going to, our project today, we are going to do a design for a stained glass window. And we are also going to talk about I think one of the most important lessons that we need to have, and that is what empathy is. Some of you may already know what this is, right? But we're going to talk a little bit of that, and then we're going to get into this art project. So if you don't have your materials ready, keep in mind that you need just regular paper, like copy paper, something like that. You can do some really big paper too, I don't care. Some pencils, eraser, and some kind of color. You might want to even get a marker, right? Get some colors, colored pencils, crayons, oil pastels, regular pastels. And as I said before, if you like watercolor and you've got a little watercolor set at home, go for it. Just do it. Make this really, really colorful. Okay, so before we get started on the art project, I want to talk a little bit about our subject matter today, which is empathy. Empathy is really kind of simple. You guys probably have empathy and you don't even know that you got it, right? Empathy is understanding how other people feel. Now that sounds pretty easy, right? It's not just a matter of knowing how somebody feels, but being able to understand, like in your heart, in your body and in your mind, how somebody is feeling. Or they may be going through major problem. They may have had a loss. Kind of like maybe if you have lost a dog. I know I have, and it's just so upsetting and sad. And so when other people I know tell me that they've lost their pet, their dog, I know exactly how they're feeling. It's not just a matter of I know, okay, their dog has passed away, but I know exactly how they feel because I have lost a treasured and beloved animal. And it kind of really, in kind of a weird way, it could be something about something really, really cool too. It's like, for those of you who play sports, you know, if I was a football player and I had made touchdowns and, you know, or home runs, and how that just makes me feel. It's just this amazing feeling of triumph. It's just so cool. And so when a friend of mine tells me they made the goal and won the game, I know exactly how he feels because I've experienced that same thing. And I tell you, this, you may think this is, you know, something that's just kind of an adult thing or something, but I don't think it really is. I really think that it is the heart and soul of a good person. Think about it. If everybody could understand how everybody else felt about things, good things and bad things, we would have hopefully we would have less fighting, less wars. Maybe people wouldn't be so mad all the time. It's one of those foundations. It's one of those major things that human beings either do for other human beings or they don't do for other human beings. And I tell you what, right now we see a bunch of craziness going on in the world. I just think, man, if we could just understand how other people feel, Yeah, I felt that way. You could become closer to people. It's easier to help people and people help you. So while we're doing this art project, I want you to think about what we just talked about, or what I just talked about. How empathetic are you? Do you care about other people and how they feel? It is a mark of a good person to be able to stop and go, yeah. Sometimes I think that if we were more empathetic with each other, we wouldn't have a lot of bullying, right? It would cut down that bullying. It would cut down on fights. I think that if everybody understood each other a little bit better, I think the world would be a little bit better too. And so when I started putting this project together, it was all about empathy and how can I show that? Well, I decided what I was going to do is I was going to create a design of two hands coming together, in friendship, in care, in love, that kind of a thing. We need to do that as human beings. And so what I decided to do is we are going to make a stained glass window design, or should I say a cartoon for a window design. It's a drawing, but people who make a lot of stained glass and everything, and this dates back way, 1,000 years ago, that they use the term cartoon. It's that kind of a loose sketch of what you're going to draw or what you're going to make. And so this is going to be a real simple kind of a thing. If you know how to make circles and squares and that kind of thing, you're good to go. Again, I don't expect these to be perfect. In fact, I would rather you not be so perfect in it because it doesn't matter. Now, I said stained glass window. I'm assuming that everybody has seen stained glass windows. Maybe you haven't. There's a lot of stained glass in churches. And in America, stained glass, there, I would say maybe about 150 years ago in America, they used to put little stained glass windows in houses, just regular houses. In fact, I've got 4 stained glass windows that were built in my house. Of course, my house is 100 years old. But stained glass has been around for a long time. And but I think most people have seen stained glass, especially in windows. I'll put up in a minute a picture so you can see a sample of a stained glass window. So, stained glass has been around for a very, very long time. Probably, I would say maybe 1,000 years ago. Maybe, I don't know, a little bit before, a little bit after. They use stained glass or use different colors of glass to make jewelry. And that was in ancient Egypt. In Europe, they used stained glass, started to use stained glass in Europe and around the world. And so it's an art form. And I know 2 or 3 people that do this for a living. They make stained glass windows. And I tell you what, every time I see some of my friends that make stained glass windows, they always have Band-Aids on their fingers because you have to be real careful on how you cut glass. And so I want you to imagine you have got a commission, meaning there is somebody that's going to pay you to create the design, the cartoon of this window. Just pretend you're a stained glass window maker and somebody's going to give you good money to create this window for them to put them in their home. And so you can pretend that you This is kind of the design you came up with. I hope you can see the hands reaching out in the glass. So pretend that each one of these colors is an individual color of glass. And in real stained glass, they have to cut out like this thumb. Each of these things right here, that shape has to be cut out of that glass in that shape. And once they get all the shapes cut out, then what they do is they put them together and they put them in what's called lead. It's made out of lead, but it's these little channels that they put this stained glass and everything in, right? And I don't want to get into the too much detail of that because, first of all, I'm not a stained glass window artist, and it's kind of talking about stuff that we're not actually going to do today. So anyway, it's a process. If you're interested in stained glass, you can actually get little kits like at Hobby Lobby or Michael's and stuff if you want to put your hand into it. So I know that maybe if it was up to your imagination, I love your imagination, to come up with something that would represent empathy. That's what we're doing here. As I said a moment ago, a lot of the stained glass that I was raised with was in churches, and it was mostly religious, a variety of different, angels and saints and, Jesus and Mary and all these things. They had this, a lot of crosses, those kinds of things. And so back a long, long time ago, really the only ones that could really afford glass, I mean, we see glass all the time, but back 1,000 years ago, it was kind of like a precious material, right? The only people that could afford that was the church, religious churches, and very, very wealthy people. So, sure, I'm glad that's over. Anybody can have a stained glass window in their home. So, get ready. Once again, you need to think about the materials that you have, the pencil, the eraser, the marker, those kinds of things. And we will begin, but again, think about when we actually start this project, I want you to really kind of do it almost exactly the way that I do it for this time. If you want to do another design later on, that's cool. You can go for it. So anyway, it's a few things. We're going to draw a little bit, and then we're going to directly go into the coloring, because really the coloring is like the most important thing, right? So, okay. Well, listen, we're going to take a short little break, and then we're going to get back so we can start this project up, and hopefully that everybody's going to get into this and enjoy it. This is a lot of fun. If you know how to color in a coloring book, you're going to be doing just fine, because that's basically what we're doing. You're going to create this thing with a pencil, and then you're going to color in these specific shapes. So, get your materials ready, and we will be back in just a second.